Welcome to the Joy Work Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the real stories behind success. Not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that pave the way for them. Hiya. And today is a special episode, aren't they all? But it's a really special milestone because the Joy Work Show has just turned 1. I can't believe it. I know I set out to do this a year ago. Just over a year ago, I announced it. I announced it in November 2024, and then it launched December the 2nd, 2024. And here we are in December 2025, and I have a podcast that is a year old. And I've got lots to say about it. But I am thrilled. I am overjoyed, and it has been the greatest thing I have done in the last year. And what I want to do today is to take you behind the scenes of this last year from the podcast perspective. The lessons, the surprises, the numbers, the challenges, the absolute joy it has brought me, and a little bit about what might be coming next. So what has this year taught me? A year ago, I pressed publish on the first episode of the podcast with no big plan. I had planned out what I wanted the podcast to be called. I'd planned out how I wanted myself to feel, the guests to feel, and you, the audience, to feel. But I had no studio, no perfect setup. From that perspective, not a lot has changed. But I just had a feeling and a knowing that there was conversations that needed a home. And there was conversations that I wanted to hear. And there was conversations that needed to be said and I wanted to be part of. And here's what I've learned since those first ideas. That people crave the truth. People want honesty. They don't want perfect sound bites or polished personas or people giving them the answers that they think they want to hear or defining success the way that perhaps some define success, but they don't see themselves in. But people want real, grounded conversations about business, identity, joy, and being human. People love stories, and I wanted to hear real, human business stories, and that's what this podcast has brought. Consistency matters. I believe in it truly, but humanity matters more. Showing up honestly has created far more connection than showing up perfectly ever could. And I do believe in consistency, but if the consistency is done under a shroud of performance, then those are the results that you're going to get. Where if you can show up with that honesty, that humanity, that authenticity, and just tell your story, because I truly believe that everybody has a story. And in the context of this podcast, if you have started a business, you have a huge story. You may not think it, but you do. And I'd love you to think about that today. And thirdly, that joy is magnetic when you choose to lead with it. When joy became part of my business world, I wasn't quite prepared for the conversations and the stories that I would have with people who joy isn't in their tagline, joy isn't their brand name, but they are showing up and leading with joy every single day. And it is the reason why they started their business, and it is the reason why they continue with their business. They search for more of it every single day, and it is what underlies their passion and their truth. And it's doing the podcast has almost got me more passionate about joy. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you will know that joy doesn't come naturally to me. I am much more sad from inside out than I am joy. I could find the reason not to do something or all of the things that could go wrong before you even make a decision if you're going to do the thing in the first place. And the reason that I am so deeply rooted in joy is I want to live a life that is extraordinary. And to do that, I truly believe that you have to find the joy in the every single day. And it is there and it can be seen, but it is a decision. And along with the people who I've had the honor of having conversations with on this podcast, what has stood out to me about joy is that it does come after the challenges. It does come after having grit. It is the greatest factor in resilience. That if you can find the joy, you can overcome most things in life, and that joy could just be your savior. Okay, let's talk about the numbers and the truth behind them. So when I set out with this podcast, and I said it out loud and I said it to lots and lots of people, I think I may have said it on social media. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I said, I am going to record 100 episodes. It actually would have been just over 100 episodes, because when I started it out, I said I was going to publish 2 episodes a week. And that would mean 104 over the year if you had no gaps. And that's what I set out to do. People told me I was completely mad, that I didn't understand how hard podcasting is, that there's no way I'd be able to record that amount of podcasts, but let's see how you do. And I was absolutely fine and I was well on target until about around June, and I started to think that they might be right. And it's nothing to do with not being able to do it or that podcasting being hard or anything like that, because actually that side of things, I've just kind of flew by the seat of my pants and very much seen how it's going. But life, and this year it lifed in ways that were absolutely not on my bingo card and I wasn't quite prepared for. And as much as I tell myself and my clients to build in resiliency plans and make sure that they have a thing, if anything goes wrong plan. But my health took turns that I never expected, and it's still an ongoing thing. But what ended up was there were days that I couldn't record. There were weeks where my energy absolutely wasn't there. And there was longer periods than I'd anticipated where recovery had to come first. And I hadn't put this into my podcast plan at all. And there were so many moments where I had to honor my health rather than pushing through, because that would have cost so much more than it would have been worth just to hit this 100 number. So no, I didn't hit 100, and I'm not going to hit 100 before the year closes. But by the time the year closes, I'll have recorded 84 episodes in a year. And you know what? I am completely and utterly over the moon about it. Because I think even to get to the first year, I am in like the top 1% of podcasters, because so many people give up when the listening figures aren't there, the download figures aren't there, or it just gets a bit hard. Or perhaps when I had that feeling in June and I could start seeing these gaps coming up, or when it got trickier to find guests, that they would have stopped doing it. It just got too hard. Whereas I thought, well, I might be getting behind, but I'm just going to keep going. And actually, probably July, August, and September, Diane still believed she could get to over the 100 episodes. But I want there to be great episodes. So I wanted to make sure that what I was putting out there was exactly that. And ultimately, I'm over the moon, because 84 episodes is 84 conversations, is 84 moments of courage and clarity and honesty and joy. Some of that is mine on my own, and some of that is the amazing guests who have been so wonderful at being so open and so generous with the conversations that they have brought to this table. And then whilst we're talking about numbers, I am not in any of the top 10s or anything like that, but I've had over 24,000 downloads across the platforms. And that's 24,000 people that have decided to tune in to even a little bit of this podcast. But and I cannot believe that that is the volume of people, or the volumes of times that people have chosen to listen to this, even if it was 10 seconds or a full episode. But there's a number that means the most to me, and that is 1. because one subscriber, one person choosing to spend their time here, one person hitting follow, share, like, commenting, sharing it on socials. So I love the number 1 because it's harder than ever to earn people's attention. Audiences are becoming more discerning, more intentional, more careful about where they invest their energy. And whilst I think that's a wonderful thing, I absolutely do, it can become a little bit harder to grow things when you're looking for that audience and you're looking to be seen and heard and get visible in as many places as you can. So every time someone subscribes, I don't take it lightly. I don't take any of you for granted. The podcast is growing. I totally believe in it. I believe that if I keep showing up in the way that we are and I keep bringing the guests, that it will grow even bigger and better than it already is. And of course, I'm growing and changing with it. So what's worked and what hasn't worked? So I think the things that have worked the best is those deep, honest conversations. People who have brought their stories and shared generously and haven't been shy about being transparent about the messy middle, that have shared their wounds of when they have failed or when they have struggled or when there has been trauma or when they have been through something unimaginably difficult, but they have grew their business out of it. They have changed their lives with it. It's the guest lineup that has brought the meaning and not just metrics. And actually, from a really selfish point of view, it is the guest lineup that has brought me the greatest amount of growth. I feel so privileged to have this. It's like my weekly coaching, therapy, strategy, meeting a friend for coffee sessions that I get to have with these guests before any of you get to meet them. And I have met some of the most wonderful people and people that I had no idea even existed until they sat across from me here on this screen on this podcast. So that has definitely been the greatest win for me. There has been solo episodes that I have done that have started conversations with the community that has just been wonderful, and some solo episodes that hit straight at the heart. And what I'm currently doing now is looking at the ones that really kind of hit home for you and the ones that perhaps didn't bring as much value as they should have done. And then there's a community that is formed around the show, and it's a community that I feel has not become my community in terms of a community that I have set up to bring people in, but I feel that I have a community of business owners that are now a part of my network. And that is worth its weight in gold. So what hasn't worked so well? Over planning hasn't worked so well. Trying to be too clever and what is coming up and overthinking the guests, trying to look at, what could this person bring? What could that person bring? And actually just learning to trust the guest stories, because the most powerful episodes have come from perhaps the most unexpected places, and also things that I can't. If a guest applies to be on the show and all I have from them is their form that they fill in, which they can share some of their stories then, and then I can look on socials and see what type of following they have, see what their story is, see what they sell, see what they're doing, see what they're about. But that's just a snapshot. There has been so many conversations where I have been so surprised about the depth of the conversations, and it's nothing that I could have got until I have the conversation with them. So there's been a lot of learnings to trust the process and trust the guests who've learning the story. And luckily, I don't think I've had a bad guest yet. So we'll see how that continues to go. Trying to force episodes in weeks when my body said no. One of the things that has become paramount or really obvious when I'm going back over some of the data and some of the episodes that haven't hit home as much are on the weeks where I was struggling the most. And it's particularly the solo episodes, because I think for the solo episodes, I need to bring that belief and that energy and that power. And if I'm not feeling right, I think you can tell in my face. I think you can hear it in my voice. And certainly the energy isn't the same. And let's face it, energy is everything. So trying not to force episodes in weeks when my body is saying no. And while I say don't overplan, if there's a week that I'm feeling great and the energy is wonderful, learning to batch create more on those weeks and trusting that those episodes will land at the right time. That's a big thing that is going to come into me with 2026. Trying to stick to frequency over quality. So as I said, I haven't hit the 100 episodes, and there was a point where I went into panic mode and I was like, right, I just need to line all the episodes up. I need to line all the episodes up. But I could see, particularly perhaps with my solo episodes, that there was times I just shouldn't have been recording. So the energy wasn't right. And when I was trying to force guests or really, really look for guests or making that a focus, I wasn't speaking to the people I wanted to speak to. I wasn't getting people booked in at the right times. 2026 is definitely going to be quality over frequency, but I can be strategic about it to make sure that my posting goals and the consistency and the cadence that I want is absolutely still there. And of course, I've mentioned it a couple of times now, it's underestimating how hard it is to secure brilliant guests consistently. I've been really, really lucky. It's happened more often than not, but there has been a few weeks where there hasn't been guest episodes. And part of that was for my reason, but part of that is because I want there to be brilliant guests on here. I want it to be the right people who want to share their story. And as much as I said it 2 minutes ago, I need to trust the process. I want to make sure that it's people that are going to share. They are the stars of the show, not me. And that's what I want to keep on bringing. But the ultimate thing that it has taught me in setting this up, doing it, trusting myself, believing in it, having the courage to just press record on that first day. But what the whole year has taught me is that you can set bold goals and you absolutely have to. And it's so important. But your humanity still gets a seat at the table. Your life is still allowed to have a voice, and that the bold goals are what got me here today and what will get me my 84 episodes by the end of the year. It might not be the 100, but it's not far off. And you can guess what I'm going to try and do next year. But it's the importance of the bold goals. Because if I hadn't set that bold goal, if I'd said I just want to do 52, where would I have been now? Would I have still dropped off? So if you're going to learn anything from this, set the bold goal, make it hard, make it high, and go for it. Because if you shoot for the moon, you might just land amongst the stars. So what's coming next? So when I was looking at it and the things that people have really, really enjoyed, and I have thoroughly enjoyed bringing back. So in this month of December, when you're listening to this episode, there'll have been one episode already out. I brought back the 4 most listened to, liked, downloaded, chatted about guests from the last year, and they are all wonderful. So we had our first on Monday, and there's one coming out for the next 3 weeks also. And it was so good to have those second conversations. It was so good to go deeper. We didn't do as much background story chat. We did like, how is your business looking this year? How are you leading with joy, etc. So when I was thinking about, I've really enjoyed them. I think they're going to go down really well with the audience. How could I do that in a little bit of a different format and bring a little bit of spice to the podcast next year, whilst still keeping a format that people love and want to see and hear every week? So originally I thought I'd introduce a monthly kind of long form deep dive, but it didn't feel different enough. And also it was going to take a lot of work to get it done for perhaps not a lot of difference from a normal great episode. So what I'm hoping to introduce instead, why did I say hope? What I am introducing instead is the Joy Work Deep Dive. And it's going to be a quarterly panel experience. So I am going to invite on more than one guest every quarter to have a discussion amongst us. And 4 times a year, we will have one big, beautiful, intentional conversation with a panel of brilliant business owners, women, who knows where it will go. It'll be the kind of episodes that you listen to twice, that you have to go back and listen to, because people will be discussing themes and giving honest opinions, and they might not always agree. So I want it to be like a moment, not a routine, not something that we're used to. It could be people that have been on before, but it's going to be much more of an informed opinion piece. Themes will align with the season. So something along the lines of Q1 being about courage, visibility, momentum. Q2, growth, joy, alignment. Q3, identity, evolution, and self-trust. And Q4, reflection, reinvention, closing the year well. I'm so excited for this. I'm just in the planning stages of it, but I think it will be such a lovely addition to next year when people want to have these conversations, where people want to go a bit deeper, where people aren't interested in that surface level success. They want to hear the challenges, the failures, people doing it differently, people talking about a different type of success, but still success and money and all of those things. So I hope that sounds like something you would like to hear. I'd love to know your opinions of it. Please feel free to reach out and tell me if it's something that you would like to. And the vision for year 2 is exactly that. It's just to be going deeper, to have more depth, more honesty, more behind the scenes of growing a joyful business, more conversations that challenge, open, soothe, resonate, get you thinking about yourself and business in ways that you hadn't done before, more stories that shift something in you, some more mini series where we tackle something over a few weeks, more intention, more connection. The Joy Work Show will continue to evolve because life does, business does, we do. And this next chapter for the Joy Work Show feels rich and exciting, and I can't wait to go all in. So as always, I would love to give you 3 reflections that I want you to hold on to. And these are my 3 reflections that I want you to hold on to from this first year. That joy is your compass. Use it every single day. Even when the path looks like nothing like what you expected, even if you pivot and flip and flop and have challenges that you never fully understood, in that moment, know that joy, used as your compass, will be the guide that gets you back out of it. Number 2, that your voice matters more than your perfection. There is nothing I have done perfect when it comes to this podcast. For example, my surroundings. I would love so much. I would love to get better for the podcast and branding and all of those things. But it's the voice that matters. I could have the most beautiful studio, the most beautiful branding. It could be sleek and everything that you could imagine. But if the voice was off, if the guest was off, if the message was off, if the conversations weren't there, you wouldn't listen. So voice matters more than perfection. Show up as you are, fully in who you are, and people will feel that. And number 3, that evolution isn't just part of a strategy. It is a strategy. You're not meant to stay where you started. At that point, you're just meant to start. You're allowed to shift, soften, recalibrate, reinvent yourself, pivot, completely change if you want. You can go through the evolution, and I hope that you always do. And I hope this podcast continues to do so. I hope you've enjoyed that little behind the scenes of the last year. If you have any questions about it, then please do come and find me on socials, comment wherever you're listening, and I will answer the questions as honestly and transparently as I possibly can. But for now and for the last year, thank you so much for listening. It really does mean the world. I can't explain how exciting it is as a podcaster. Thank you for subscribing to those that have. And if you haven't, why not? It takes 2 seconds, doesn't cost you anything. You can do it right now. Press the little alarm, press the follow, press the like, whatever you're watching me on or listening to me on. Get subscribing. It literally is like a happy dance every time somebody subscribes to this podcast. It means we can keep going. It means we get seen by more people, and means I can keep bringing you wonderful guests. But thank you for being here, whether it's your first episode or indeed, I was going to say your 84th. But this won't be your 84th. This will be your 79th, I think. But either way, I hope you're going to listen to your 84th soon too. Year 2 is going to be extraordinary and exciting. And I feel like we're just getting started. I'll see you next week with another of our anniversary episodes, but with one of our welcomed back again guests.